If you do not command the air, you cannot win a war. So you can exist without air, but you cannot win. So the main role of the Air Force is then to provide that favorable air situation which allows one to win a war.
That statement by Chief of the Air Force, General Dennis Earp, slots the Air Force into South Africa's military machine. The Air Force consists mainly of volunteers, and because of the effects of the arms embargo, top quality training is regarded as of paramount importance, so that the best can be achieved with available machines and weaponry. It costs an astronomical 2 million rand to train a single Mirage pilot. But at the end of it all, these men know what they are doing.
I do think that the enemy have increased reasonably considerably in the technological field. We do have a bit of a problem here, but there are ways and means, and if we combine once again the training that we do have, we do still feel confident that we're capable of doing the job given to us.
I'd rate it in the top 10 air forces in the world in both air defence and ground support. I've flown with them on several occasions. They're extremely professional. They know what they're doing. They could fit in with most of the European air forces quite easily. They're very, very good, very professional.
If we must compare the South African Air Force with the air forces of the world, I would say that we are probably in the top 5. But again, not if we're talking size of force. We can't compete with the United States, obviously. But quality-wise, and bearing in mind that an air force isn't only aeroplanes and only people, it's a total system, I think we're still up in the top 5. We may even be among the top 3.
The locally made Impala is today familiar in our skies. Equipped with improved systems and efficient weaponry, it provides an excellent air cover given the right circumstances. Bearing the name of Africa's swift and agile cheetah, this versatile aircraft ranks among Arms Corps' most ambitious and technologically complex success stories. Only recently formally commissioned for operations, this aircraft, an upgrading of the Mirage 3, heralds a new era of self-sufficiency and heightened operational capability for the Air Force. With advanced electronic systems housed in its gracefully elongated nose, this jet fighter provides a supersonic platform for a deadly assortment of South African-produced weapons. They include the revolutionary Kukri missile system linked to a built-in helmet sight, the CB-470 cluster bomb, the Mark 82 bomb, and an upgraded 30mm cannon. Taken in conjunction with our pilots' flying skills, the Air Force is confident that the Cheetah is more than a match for anything they may encounter in the southern African skies. British Defence correspondent Terry Gander outlines the African problem.
A lot of the border states, I notice, are busy rearming themselves with more modern equipment. But it isn't going to do them a great deal of good in many cases, because having the equipment and just using it once or twice on parades is great. What really matters is day in, day out, maintenance, servicing, looking after and keeping the standard of training up. And this is where many of the African nations at the moment are sadly lacking. It's very well having the latest MiGs or the latest this, that or the other aircraft, the latest flashing things that really look good on the newsreels. What really matters is the day-to-day maintenance and looking after that equipment. And this is where so many African nations seem to fall down. This is where the South Africans do score, because they do look after their equipment. They do design it to be exactly right for their situation, and they have the skills and techniques to be able to do it for quite some time to come.
Pumas, indispensable appendages of the army, are the workhorses of the air. Their tasks include rapid troop deployment, air-hopping trackers in pursuit of fleeing terrorists. They fly in fuel, rations, water and weapons. Troops in tight spots are picked up and flown to safety. The wounded and ill are casevaced at all times, from all places, often under perilous conditions. For some time now, the arms embargo has jeopardized South Africa's helicopter capability. But at an international air show in Chile recently, Armscorps stole the limelight with its locally developed Alpha XH-1 combat helicopter. Described by Jane's Defense Weekly as a striking feature of the show, this tandem helicopter gunship meets the requirements of one of the most important facets of modern warfare. Also recently unveiled at the Atlas Aircraft Corporation was the locally developed XTP-1 attack helicopter. With a Puma as the basic design, this helicopter shows major modifications and structural changes, enhancing its striking power and stability. Numbering among the often unsung heroes of the South African military machine are those involved in air transport. Men and equipment, cargo of all kinds, flown in where they are most needed and sometimes urgently so.
Okay, the drop height is 1,000 feet IJL. Runway heading will be 348 degrees magnetic. And that's 30 paratroopers aside and 2 drops.
The dropping of paratroopers and their equipment provides another striking example of the interdependence of the various branches of the Defence Force. The flying and navigational skills of the crews of the air transport planes are legend. Dark or light, bad weather or good, remote places must be reached, often under dangerous conditions and with on-the-spot timing. For these mainly citizen force paratroopers, it's an exercise today. But tomorrow, and quite suddenly, the unknown, unexpected, the difficult and the dangerous could become a stark reality.
Certainly there are a couple of navies in Africa which in terms of numbers are about parity with us. But quality, there is no comparison whatever. And that quality is extremely important in a navy. A navy is a high-tech business. And if your weapon systems don't work, or not 100%, then you might as well not have them. And this is our big advantage, and the advantage we've got to hang on to is quality people. And as a result, we have an extremely professional Navy, I believe as professional as the British or the American navies, and we can face anything that Africa can throw at us, easily.
A military strategist once wrote, "One does not fight with men against material. It is with material served by men that one makes war." And in many ways, this encapsulates the situation confronting the South African Navy, crippled as a protector of the vital Cape Sea route because of the arms embargo. But nevertheless, having risen bravely and competently to the challenge of meeting the naval requirements of this country's extensive shoreline. Perhaps modest in size, the South African Navy has nevertheless achieved a state of self-sufficiency and efficiency which ensure that any attack on that which it protects is either doomed to fail or will result in severe enemy losses. For the past 10 years, the backbone of the South African Navy's surface forces has been the strike craft. Relatively small in size, this ship nevertheless packs a powerful punch. The 9 ships of the Strike-Craft Flotilla operate under the motto, "The last to fire is the first to die," and their speed, maneuverability, and fearful weapon system provide them with a strike-first capability difficult to outdo. Locally built, the overriding feature of the Strike-Craft is its South African-produced Skorpioen missiles, which provide the ship with its awesome impact, even when pitted against a much larger warship. The launch of a missile is the culmination of complex technological procedures involving detection, classification, and engagement. Here, speed and accuracy are paramount, and in the reddish glow of the ops room, the tension of concentration prevails.
Surface blind, red 30, range 158. Yes, your target. Action on missile, selected. No answer.
In addition to the missiles, a strike craft has on deck 2 20mm guns, 2 Brownings, plus 2 formidable 76mm guns. This simulated air attack calls for Combat State 1. Within seconds, the guns are chattering and booming, and the attacking planes face a barrage of metal hurtling out of stabilized weapons, some supported by the radar-assisted fire control unit.
Our strategy thus far has been to retain a qualitative advantage over our potential enemies and to ensure that the highest level of realistic combat training is maintained at all times by our surface combat forces. We have ensured that this high state of readiness is visible at all times in order to ensure deterrence. Remember that we would operate as far as is possible in conjunction with our submarines, which are excellent platforms indeed. As far as some sort of intervention by other forces is concerned, it's a little more difficult to quantify. Obviously, we have our limitations, but what we have, and here I include the combination of submarines, maritime strike aircraft, and our strike craft, which would be essential in such a scenario, I believe that not many countries could make a realistic assessment of their chances and find that they can afford to take the risk of coming to our home ground, taking us on, and losing their money.
They run silent, they run deep. And in the realm of subsurface warfare, this country's 3 Daphne-class submarines remain a significant deterrent. These vessels have been with the fleet since the early 1970s, but their defense systems are constantly being updated. Underwater sonar identification is an exacting and important task. Because of unpredictable and severe temperature gradients off the Cape Coast, the detection of lurking submarines is difficult for surface sonars, with the result that South Africa's offshore waters have been dubbed a submariner's paradise. Armed with 12 torpedoes and having a range of some 8,000 kilometers, these hunters and killers of the deep dare not be discounted by an enemy force. And if speculation that South Africa is well on the way to building her own submarines is incorrect, then certainly it's true to say that this country is giving that possibility serious thought. Below waters, the submarines. Skimming the surface, the nippy strike craft. But the eye in the sky is provided by the Albatross. Traditionally the Navy's buddies, Southern Air Command runs the coastal patrol squadrons, and all describe working relationships as excellent. Most recent star in the naval firmament is the 12,500-ton SAS Drakensberg, the biggest and most technologically advanced ship yet designed and built in South Africa. Initially assisting and eventually destined to replace the aging SAS Tafelberg replenishment vessel, the Drakensberg has become a valuable addition to the Navy. It enhances surveillance and rescue capabilities, and in the service of operational vessels, it increases their efficiency. thread intertwined through South Africa's remarkable defence capabilities is the foresight, ingenuity and determination of all those involved in overcoming the arms embargo and thereby making this country self-sufficient in self-defence. Referring to the history of the arms embargo and the establishment of Arms Corps, the prestigious magazine Defence Update International writes, "The country's entire industrial and research resources were mobilized to enable Arms Corps to become the equal of the United States and Sweden in its understanding of detonics, the science of explosives and explosions, develop world-leading frequency-hopping radio systems, and, among other achievements, produce what are regarded as the world's most effective mine-proof vehicles." An amazing testimonial, underlined by other foreign but in-the-know military strategists.
The aircraft industry, Atlas, is improving in leaps and bounds. They're doing things now which wouldn't have been possible 10 years ago. I think the embargo caused the upsurge in Arms Corps and their growth.
Well, it's probably a perverse way of putting it, but it seems to have done you a lot of good in as much as it's turned you back on yourselves. You've made through your own effort and your own energy and your own innovation some splendid equipment that's as good as any, and in most cases is the best in the world. And I think that's a credit to, as I say, to the ingenuity of your people.
And the equipment that I and General Butler saw was of the very highest quality, and some of it quite unique.
What is it, Mr. Garrett, that really impressed you?
The most? The Rathole armoured car or troop carrier, and the radio equipment. I think your high-grade radio equipment is outstanding.
Again, our defence people could look at some of the equipment that the South Africans have and probably buy it from them at a heck of a lot cheaper price than we're paying for ours, and be getting a very good, if not better, product than we're getting. So I'm very impressed.
Somewhere, while we are safely at work or play or in pensive mood, someone is out there, out at the front, ensuring that we, involved in the preparatory, pleasurable and profitable pursuits of life, are able to do so, undisturbed, confident and secure, the agonies of war and the sweat of suffering, far removed from that which is our daily lives. It is to those someones out there somewhere that this documentary is dedicated.